Have you ever heard of the Solutions Project?
No, shoot.
Basically, it's like this project where they've come up with ways to solve all our like energy and like resource needs based specifically on each different state's economy. So it's like 50 different plans to where like each state is like as a whole completely uses sustainable and renewable resources, and like they wish to instill this plan by the year 2015. So
That's cool. I'm gonna look that up.
and like I had a question for like everybody here.
Yeah.
As far as like what you like believe will solve the issue of like scarcity of like resources, do you think like that requires a collectivism on a global scale, or can it be like an initiative of like one individual government, say the United States, and then based on what they produce, all the other countries can just follow in line?
I think I'm thinking there could be a government solution, but I don't think there has to be. I don't think any government's really
And another
interested.
dynamic you can throw into the question,
Yeah.
do you believe like an organization can kind of trump like the influence and reach of a government as far as solving world issues such as scarcity?
Yeah.
I would think that, I mean, like governments as we think of them are the organizations that are the ones making the dictates that everyone has to follow, but at the same time, they're controlled or beholden to much larger interests as well.
Because like I've been thinking about it, like if you think like, cause like this is the idea that I've been like playing with more and more.
Yeah.
Cause like recently I had this idea of like if you broke down like almost like a map of like how the government works as an organization, like each of like the chains of command all the way to the top, and it's like every position has its own initiative. So if you take what you can learn from that, apply it to an organization that isn't really involved in the political sphere, like it's not really people running for office, but it has the same initiative. So it's like, you know, an organization such as a company, and it's like a non-profit, but it functions like a company, a conglomerate. If you would look at it that way, it rapidly expands from country to country, except when it like enters the borders of a new country. Basically what it would do is like it would break down that country's needs and requirements based on the independent like committees of like say the Congress or anything. You know how it's like broken down from like energy, transportation, like basically every aspect of our society. So if like you categorize every needs of each individual country, and then like you take all the information and the resources you've collected on the way and you apply that to that country. I don't see how we can like fix the world like one country at a time, but that's just like a dreamer's approach. Cause like I've been like doing more and more research, and it's like so many different like non-profits are like working like separately to solve the same problem.
Yeah.
But like if you think about like technology now, it's like once you just get like a huge number of people behind it, get the non-profits that are already doing the footwork, put them under one roof, and then like get a bunch of funding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would be like a.
I'm thinking like just like layman's term, just like a non-profit.
No, yeah, it makes sense. It's like
It's rapidly expanding.
yeah, putting in
It's
government
like the
funding.
corporate version of the UN.
It'd be like a giant investment that could only really ever bring back returns, because you're taking care of like the problem of how fast it's going to spread. Because I didn't really think about a government solution. I was thinking more like passing from one person to another, and sort of viral growth. People like following instructions on the internet to build their own stuff. But if you had an institution already set up, yeah. If you had an institution already set up, it would happen a lot faster. And I guess if a government was doing it,
Well, I mean that's my point.
if a government was doing it, they wouldn't think it's an opposition.
But I didn't want it to be like part of any specific government, because like when usually you do that, like the organization tends to cater to that government's needs and try
Yeah.
to keep them in like a position of like higher control.
Yeah.
That was kind of my dream for Occupy, was the hope that these encampments
See, I
would
had a problem
become...
with Occupy because it's like, all right, I understand why you did it, and like, sure, you got a lot of people out there, but it's like, I mean, maybe because I haven't done enough like research on the movement as a whole. Like, I don't like I can't list like the things that they accomplished, but
Yeah.
from what I hear,
Well,
that list is pretty small.
They accomplished enough to get the FBI to start posting snipers.
Yeah,
Well, one
that
could
was
say
crazy
they-
to read about here.
Right. Yeah, that actually happened here.
Oh, like the Occupy Houston.
Yeah, the Occupy Houston. The FBI was. I don't know if they actually got around to doing it, but they were some document leaked, and apparently they were planning or had already put snipers up to start. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's an example of like information control, where these few redacted documents got out that were related to, oh, well, there's supposedly people involved that want to overthrow the U.S. government, so national security, you can't know what we're planning, but we're planning something big to break this all up. And
If you're worried about people planning to overthrow the government, go out to Nevada. Anyway, I need to go. I have a thing.
All right.
Mhm.
I can step back.
Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Nice to meet you as well.
But my thought for Occupy was this idea that these camps were getting set up, and they were like civil dis camps, where they were like, oh, well, it's legal to camp here, but we're going to set it up, and we're going to have, you know, we're going to have food, and we're going to have shelter, and everything that people need, so they could just come here and be a part of it. And it seemed like it was mostly the people that were involved. It was like designed to be a flash in the pan, as opposed to being a sustainable thing. And the idea was like, we're going to go out and do it illegally, and we're going to get arrested, and then we're going to fight it in court, and that'll be that. But my idea was, I thought it would be much cooler if, instead of trying to have it be like a big civil disobedience thing, instead have it just try to be a sustainable community thing.
Yeah, see, that's where I was going with it, because like, well, I mean, I wasn't involved, but like I kind of watched it closely when like it first got started and everything. Like, honestly, just exactly what you just said. Agree with it 100%. Because like when you approach it like that, like a lot of people, they didn't respect it because of how they approached it, and like not like, all right, these guys aren't really doing anything, but like I just felt like it would have held more weight if they just would have approached it on their terms. Because it's like I always just thought it was like you're still just like that bratty kid just banging on the door outside, as opposed to like if you just entered their arena and not necessarily play the games on their terms, but like enter the court officially and say like, we are going to play this, you know, the full 90 minutes, you know, see where this goes, instead of just like being like that just obnoxious just kid like taking a crap in people's Starbucks.
Well, I guess it's, you know, it's hard to criticize Occupy because you're not sure what they were getting done, and it really depends. It's weird because there's like a whole bunch of different causes taking up the same flag.
Sure.
But this sustainable community thing you were thinking of, like, was this like your local organization?
Well, in New Hampshire, when we first started out,
Yeah.
like there was a big initial meeting, and we were like, where should we go? And people were saying like, well, they told us that if we go to this park just outside of town, they won't bother us. But we want to do it in the middle of town, so let's go to the big center of town place.
But hold up. Before you ask the question, where should we go, was there any kind of consensus on what is it we're planning to do?
Not exactly. It was people that are just like, we know that we don't like what the government's doing. Like, there was a general sort of anti-war sentiment. There was a general sort of social
Anti-corporate
services.
welfare.
Yeah, like, you know, different people don't have
These
certain
free
services they
taxes.
need. Yeah, and it, like there wasn't a main
the
goal.
fact that all members of Congress streamlined the bailout, even though none of the voters wanted them to. And
Yeah.
how could this possibly have
I
happened
mean, that's like one of those things where
without
it's
like systematic corruption?
if you look at it, like especially now with like how this like the stories just keep coming out more and more, how like they do polls on what people want as like a, you know, how we like 90% of us are like don't have a problem with gun control and everything, and how like just constantly the U.S. government just ignores our wants and needs and just does what corporate. Because I mean, honestly, like I saw this this meme on the internet. It was like a politician, and then it was like just had like a bunch of, you know how race car drivers, they have the logos.
Yeah,
of
yeah,
every
yeah.
corporation.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you saw that too.
Yeah, it would be
Supreme
great. It would be
Court.
great if our members of Congress,
Congress did
wore
the same
their
thing,
sponsors. That'd be cool. That was fun.
But like that's very dangerous though when you think about the idea behind it. How like you rely on these people. You elect them to office to cater to your wants and needs. But like elections are being bought and paid for.
And on the other hand,
honestly, they've done like research where you can find the average cost of like a certain seat in political office. That's a very frightening fact.
Yeah.
and I voted a couple times.
people that
both,
decide
and whenever I voted, this last time when I voted, I started thinking to myself, you know, I went to these people's websites, right? And I read what they believe, and I've agreed with some of them, and I've picked my candidates, but where did these people come from? I didn't bother to ask myself, first off, how do you get to be obviously these are open source things. You have the internet, you could look up the answers to these questions anytime, but even now I haven't looked up where what it takes to become a candidate for Congress, where these people come from, what the major profession is.
You mean like their credentials?
Yeah, their
Lawyers
credentials.
usually.
I'm guessing that's my first guess too. Most of them are lawyers. And then basically this it's like this person comes out of thin air with a list of claimed beliefs, and you're supposed to pick one. But you don't know them as a person. You haven't been. They don't have a Wikipedia page until they pop up as a candidate. They might have a Wikipedia page before they pop up as a candidate, but you know what I'm trying to say.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, people aren't necessarily coming out of the community as like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe you know it might just be voter laziness. Maybe the habit of doing real research on candidates just should be more popular.
Watch the news and it's like they don't really care about, like, I'm not even gonna say that much, but I mean,
Yeah,
in
I
some
don't watch-
cases you can
yeah.
say people don't care, like until like election season actually rolls around and then they decide to get all angsty about it, and it's like they just start putting bumper stickers on the back of their cars, you know, start supporting people that don't even hold their